Detroit woke up different today. When everyone thought the NFC picture was already set, football decided to shake everything up once again. A loss on the other side of the country, between the Eagles and the Chargers, shifted the entire board, and suddenly, the Lions are right back in the heart of the fight. What once looked distant, almost impossible, now has a real path forward. At this decisive point in the season, every NFC loss to an AFC team becomes pure fuel for Detroit's dream. And that Eagles loss wasn't just a result, it was a signal. One of those moments that can change the direction of an entire season. Today, you're going to see why this game changes everything, how it directly impacts the Lions, and what could come next in this wild playoff race. So get ready, because the vibe is all about momentum, pressure, and historic opportunity. And before we dive into the full breakdown, hit that like button, because it helps the channel a lot to keep bringing top-level content to Lions Nation. Not long ago, the Eagles felt untouchable. The tush-push was unstoppable, the top seed seemed locked in, and the NFC East looked like a formality. But now, suddenly, they're only 2 games above a .500 Cowboys team. And that detail matters for Detroit, because the Lions already beat Dallas. What that means is simple and powerful. That wild card spot the Eagles seemed ready to claim is no longer guaranteed. And now it doesn't even matter as much whether it ends up being the Cowboys or the Eagles in that position. The point is that the door is open, and Detroit is very much alive in that race. What's really changing is the feeling around the playoff path. 2 weeks ago, it felt like there was only one way in: win the NFC North or go home. Now, there are multiple paths. Second place in the division is suddenly meaningful. The chaos around the standings is real. Just look at what happened with Chicago recently, jumping up and falling back down so fast. And the reality is that the Lions still have the Bears at the end of the season. There's a very real chance that final game could decide the number 7 seed. That's not hype. That's how tight this race is right now. There are also eyes on other teams that could help Detroit by losing at the right time. The 49ers' remaining schedule is not friendly. They still have the Bears, the Seahawks, and they even have to go on the road. A surprise loss anywhere in that stretch would dramatically shift the picture. And Cleveland, strange as it sounds, suddenly becomes one of those underdog teams you quietly root for in these scenarios. A single upset in the wrong place could swing everything. Now here's where it gets even more real for the Lions themselves. If Detroit beats the Rams, everything changes again. The Rams still have another game against Seattle after that, and suddenly the Lions would own the tiebreaker over Los Angeles. That alone opens up yet another route to the postseason. But let's be clear about something. This team still has to earn it. The Lions are not in a position where they can coast. They have to win. Flat out. The math is simple. 3 wins in the final 4 games. That's the standard. There's no shortcut around it. And the timing of these games only adds to the stress. Thanksgiving, Christmas Day, road games in cold cities. There's no easing into this. Beating the Rams would take enormous pressure off the final stretch, because after that, you're asking the Lions to win 2 of 3 against Pittsburgh at home, Minnesota on the road, and Chicago on the road. None of those are easy. Every single one of these games has the recipe for chaos. The Rams game in particular feels terrifying for one specific reason: Matthew Stafford. The way the Rams operate offensively, the constant motion, the speed, the confidence, it all puts stress on a defense, especially a secondary that's already been through some battles this season. Stafford still plays with that same look, that same dangerous calm. He holds the ball like he's about to create something special every snap. And emotionally, this matchup is loaded. Some fans still feel gratitude. Others feel nothing but rivalry. There's history, tension, and unfinished emotion wrapped into one quarterback. And now, there's another unexpected boost on Detroit's side of the ball. Dan Campbell confirmed that Miles Frazier is going to get snaps at left guard. This is not just a rotation move. This is a potential shift in how the Lions run their offense. Frazier brings size, power, and a road grader profile that could completely change the run game. He started nearly every game in college. He's massive, physical, and built for exactly what Detroit wants to do when the offense is fully humming. The Lions' identity at its best is simple: run the ball with authority, force defenses to respect it, and let the offense control the rhythm. When the run game is rolling, everything opens up. Jahmyr Gibbs needs one crease. David Montgomery needs just a little daylight. And suddenly, the offense becomes relentless. This year, the run game has been explosive but inconsistent. With a player like Frazier in the lineup, the ceiling rises again. He doesn't need to be perfect on every snap. He just needs to create possibility. One broken run can change a game. One dominant drive can shift momentum. So when you stack it all together, the Eagles slipping, the wild card door reopening, the Rams matchup looming, Stafford returning, the holiday stress games, and now a potential boost to the offensive line, it all starts to feel like one of those late season stretches that defines a team forever. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is easy. But nothing is over either. The Lions are right in the middle of it, and every snap from here forward is going to feel like a playoff snap. And that's what makes this stretch so intense. There is no room left for hesitation, no space for slow starts, no allowance for almost. Every possession from here on out carries weight, and the margin between playing in January and watching from the couch is razor thin. The Lions aren't chasing a dream anymore. They're chasing survival inside a playoff race that has suddenly become crowded, volatile, and ruthless. That Rams game sits in the center of everything. It's not just another matchup on the schedule, it's the hinge game. Win it, and the entire outlook shifts. Lose it, and the pressure on the final 3 games becomes almost unbearable. And that pressure doesn't disappear just because the opponent wears a familiar face at quarterback. In fact, it grows. Stafford isn't just any opposing quarterback. He knows this fan base. He knows this stadium. He knows the emotion, the noise, the stakes, and how quickly momentum can flip in a building like this. And the reality is, he's playing with weapons. The Rams' offense isn't flashy by accident. It's engineered to stress defenses horizontally and vertically at the same time, forcing linebackers to hesitate and safeties to make impossible choices. That's exactly why this matchup feels dangerous. But here's the other side of it. Detroit is not the same team it once was when Stafford wore blue and silver. This roster has teeth. This team plays with an edge. There's confidence here that didn't exist years ago. The Lions aren't just hoping opponents make mistakes anymore. They're built to force them, and that mindset matters when the season tightens like this. You can feel how every upcoming game has its own unique kind of danger. Pittsburgh at home brings physicality and discipline. Minnesota on Christmas brings emotion, short rest, travel, and division pressure. Chicago in the cold at the end of the year brings chaos and rivalry energy, the kind of game where records don't mean as much as pride and survival. Any one of those can flip on a single turnover or a single missed assignment, and that's why the Miles Frazier decision quietly carries so much importance. This isn't just about one lineman getting snaps. This is about restoring the identity of the offense when the pressure is highest. Detroit at its best is violent in the run game. It wears defenses down. It drags games into deep water and forces opponents to blink first. When that identity slips, the Lions become explosive but streaky. When it's locked in, they become relentless. If Frazier can help unlock that consistency up front, even in flashes, it changes how defenses have to prepare. Because when the run game is truly alive, play action becomes lethal. Third and manageable becomes normal. Time of possession tilts. And most importantly, the defense gets rest. That's how you survive December football. That's how you survive short weeks. That's how you survive emotional games where mistakes multiply. What's also different now is the way wins ripple across the standings. Every Lions win now doesn't just add to Detroit's record, it actively reshapes the playoff board. Head-to-head matchups across the conference become opportunities instead of threats. Wild-card competitors knock each other out. Tiebreakers flip. Scenarios open that didn't exist a month ago. That's what happens when you stay alive long enough in a crowded race. Chaos eventually starts working in your favor. But chaos only matters if you handle your own business. And that's the truth the Lions can't escape. No amount of help from the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Bears, the Rams, or anyone else means anything if Detroit doesn't win. 3 out of 4. That's the number. It's clean. It's brutal. It's fair. And emotionally, you can feel the fan base teetering between belief and fear. There's excitement because the path exists. There's anxiety because the margin is gone. There's hope because the team looks capable. There's dread because every opponent left is dangerous in a different way. This is exactly what meaningful football feels like in December, heavy, tense, and unforgettable. The Lions didn't ask for an easy road. They got a real one. A road filled with rivals, ghosts from the past, physical defenses, hostile environments, and holiday pressure. And right in the middle of it all sits this moment, a stretch that could define not just a season, but the next chapter of this franchise's story. If the run game catches fire, if the offense controls tempo, if the defense survives the storm of elite quarterbacks and weird game scripts, then this team can absolutely punch its ticket. But if even one of those pillars cracks at the wrong moment, the window closes instantly. That's how thin it is now. So now I leave it with you. Are the Lions ready to survive this gauntlet and turn these unexpected boosts into a real playoff run? Or is this stretch just too brutal for even this version of Detroit to overcome? If you enjoyed this breakdown and want the full continuation of this story as it unfolds, make sure you're subscribed. drop a like on this video, and keep your eyes on the screen for what's coming next. And even beyond the matchups themselves, what's unfolding right now is a psychological battle as much as a physical one. This is the part of the season where teams either lean into pressure or quietly shrink from it. You can feel which direction Detroit is trying to go. The body language on the sideline, the tone from the coaching staff, the way younger players are being trusted instead of hidden. All of it points to a team that understands the stakes and is choosing to confront them head-on instead of tiptoeing around them. Because this is also the moment when excuses disappear. There's no more next month, no more when we get healthy, no more we're still building. This is the build. This is the evaluation. December tells you exactly who you are. And for the Lions, the truth is being revealed 1 week at a time in the most unforgiving way possible. You can see it in how the offense is being shaped now. There's urgency in the play calling, but not panic. There's aggression, but it's controlled. The commitment to the run isn't just philosophy anymore, it's survival strategy. When the Lions win, they don't just outscore opponents. They outlast them. They drain them. They turn 4 quarters into a slow grind that favors toughness over flash. And that's not accidental. That's the identity being sharpened for this exact moment of the season. Defensively, it's about bending without snapping. The remaining quarterbacks on this schedule are not forgiving. Stafford will test every weakness. Minnesota will stress the middle of the field. Chicago will lean on emotion and weather. Mistakes will happen. That part is unavoidable. The question is whether the defense answers those mistakes with collapse or with resistance. December football is not about perfection. It's about response. What makes this stretch even heavier is that the Lions aren't sneaking up on anyone anymore. There's no surprise factor left. Teams prepare for Detroit seriously now. They respect the physicality. They respect the creativity. They respect the resilience. That alone changes the dynamic of every game. Winning when you're underestimated is hard. Winning when you're targeted is harder. And then there's the emotional cost of it all. These aren't just games on a screen anymore. These are games that swing moods, define weekends, and live in memory for years. Thanksgiving, Christmas, cold road finales. Every one of these moments is being etched into what this era of Lions football will be remembered for. This stretch will be referenced years from now, either as the moment it all came together, or the moment it just barely slipped away. And that's why this unexpected boost earlier in the standings mattered so much. Not because it guaranteed anything, it didn't, but because it restored possibility. It gave breath back to the season. It took what was feeling like a narrowing tunnel and widened it just enough for belief to survive. But belief still needs fuel. It needs wins. It needs execution. It needs courage in moments when hesitation feels safer. Every team left on the schedule has something to prove. Every one of them has its own reason to fight. There will be no mercy. There will be no easy Sundays. And yet, this is exactly where the Lions wanted to be, playing meaningful football when everything is on the line. Now it comes down to identity versus pressure. Can Detroit impose its will when opponents know exactly what's coming? Can the offense remain patient when the margins shrink? Can the defense hold when momentum swings violently? Can the team survive the emotional weight of holiday games that feel like playoff eliminators? Because if they can, then this season stops being just another step in the rebuild and starts becoming a turning point in franchise history. And if they can't, then this stretch will still be remembered, just for very different reasons. And the truth is, from this point forward, there's no separating logic from emotion anymore. The numbers, the scenarios, the tiebreakers, they still matter, of course, but now the season lives in moments. 1 4th and short, 1 red zone stand, 1 broken tackle that turns into a 40-yard run, 1 throw that hangs in the air a half-second too long. This is the phase of the year where a single snap can outweigh 3 months of work. You can feel how thin that line is right now. 1 week, you're looking at multiple paths into the postseason. The next week, you're staring at must-win math with no margin left. That's the environment the Lions are operating in. And that's exactly why every detail has become magnified. The offensive line combinations, the way the run game starts the first 2 drives, how quickly the defense settles in, how the coaching staff manages momentum when the crowd tightens up. Because momentum is everything now. Early confidence can tilt an entire afternoon. A slow start can suffocate the life out of a stadium. And against teams like the Rams, Minnesota, or even Chicago late in the year, you don't get many chances to recover once momentum slips away. That's also why the leadership inside this locker room matters more than anything on a depth chart. This is the point where voices carry weight, where body language is contagious, where belief either spreads or evaporates. Young players feel that pressure differently. Veterans feel it in their legs and in their recovery time. Coaches feel it in every decision that could be second-guessed for years. There's no hiding now. Not for the offense, not for the defense, not for the staff, not for the franchise. The Lions asked to be taken seriously again, and now they are. This is the price of relevance. This is what meaningful football costs. And that's what makes this stretch so powerful and so terrifying at the same time. You don't get these moments often. You don't get December football that actually matters every snap. You don't get holiday games with playoff weight on them. And when you do get them, they change how you remember a season forever. Whether this run ends with a playoff berth or ends just short, this stretch will define how this version of the Lions is remembered. As the team that broke through, or the team that learned one last brutal lesson on the edge. And now everything circles back to the same reality. Win 3 out of 4. That's it. No shortcuts, no favors, no guarantees. So now it's fully in their hands. And I want to know where you stand right now. Do you believe this Lions team is about to write something special into this season? Or are you preparing yourself for one more heartbreak at the edge of the finish line? And no matter how much you try to prepare for it emotionally, this is the part of the season that always finds a new way to hit harder than expected. Because now, every Sunday feels heavier. Every drive carries consequence. Every injury report feels like it could tilt the entire balance of the season. You start watching not just the Lions game, but 3 or 4 others at the same time, tracking scores, doing the math in your head, refreshing standings like it might somehow change the outcome. That's the reality of being alive in December. It's exhausting, it's exhilarating, and it's brutal. What's fascinating about this Lions team is that they don't look like a group that's trying to survive this pressure. They look like a group that's trying to weaponize it. There's a sharpness to the way they're operating right now. Not reckless, not desperate, focused, intentional. It feels like a team that understands the moment and isn't shying away from it. And that's not something you could always say about Detroit football. The question now isn't whether the Lions are talented enough. That question has already been answered. They are. The question is whether they're steady enough. Can they avoid the one quarter where everything unravels? Can they avoid the stretch of penalties, the coverage busts, the stalled red zone possessions that swing games at this level? In December, teams rarely lose because they aren't good enough. They lose because they blink. And blinking is expensive now. One early turnover against the Rams could change the entire tone of that game. One missed assignment against Minnesota could turn a tight battle into a track meet. One slow, frozen start in Chicago could bury a season before it even warms up. These are not hypothetical threats. These are the margins that define playoff teams. That's also why the offense becoming more physical again matters so much. When the Lions are dictating terms at the line of scrimmage, they take randomness out of the game. They shorten it. They stabilize it. They force opponents to be perfect for longer than they want to be. That's how underdogs become favorites. That's how pressure gets transferred instead of absorbed. And you can feel that the coaching staff knows it. The emphasis on snaps, reps, rotations, and trust in younger players isn't accidental. It's preparation for endurance. You don't survive this stretch with just your best 11. You survive it with your depth, your discipline, and your ability to correct mistakes without spiraling. What makes this all so intense is that the Lions aren't chasing some abstract future anymore. This is real. The door is open right